All right, this edition of Wrestling Perspective is sponsored by BlueChew.com. Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. Now, my co-host this week, Petey Williams, can't make it, so I dug deep in the bag of celebrities I knew, and the first one to text, answer, return my call was Jason Kendall, former Major League Baseball player, Pirates, Dodgers, Kansas City Royal, although I used to live in St. Louis, so that makes us kind of natural enemies now, right?
Well, Dennis, first of all, I wasn't on the Dodgers, but I mean, it sounded cool. I'm from LA.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah, the Dodgers. No, I wasn't on Dodgers. It was the Pirates. I don't even know. Milwaukee, Oakland, Chicago, and Kansas City.
I'm going to start naming off different teams during the show that you were not even on just to cover up my mistake and make it look like a bit. Like,
no, not a problem.
Like, man, I remember your time with the Reds. Whew, man, that was great. See what?
Yeah, no. Although I do have a lot of hits against the Reds, so I probably would have been a pretty good player over there.
Trust me, my co-host on Friday, Dave Chris, for the new podcast we're doing, will give you some crap about that. But anyways, Blue Chew, listen, it is made from the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. And let's be honest now, you're retired, so you probably having a little trouble, getting it over the fence, if you know what I mean, huh? Hitting that ball a little
Not
deep.
at all.
Deep? No?
Not at all. I have a beautiful wife, and I'm a lucky man.
Well,
that's all I'm going to say.
At my age, 41, you might be even a tad bit older than me, a little gray in the tooth, but at my age, I need a little help around in those bases. Look, Blue Chew is an amazing pill. It's, like I said, same active ingredients as Cialis and Viagra, made in America, so it's cheaper. You can get it over the internet, so you don't even have to go have those awkward doctor's visits. I mean, come on, Jason, between you and I, how many times have you been in the doctor for, a groin pull and he's filling you up and you feel a little weird about that?
Well, you know what? I think it's an unbelievable service. And that being said, is like I said, I have zero problem, and I'm one of those people who is very, very lucky.
Well, I'm on the...
To say the least.
Well, hang on. You have abs. You're tall. You are a Adonis of a ball player. I'm short, 5'9", a little bit chubby. I feel like the genes God gave you should have actually gotten to me. So I do need Blue Chew. I need sexual enhancement steroids, if you will. So I'm okay with admitting that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Blue Chew all the way. Absolutely. As far as the Adonis, I have to ask my wife about that one. She said yes. I mean, she says a lot of stuff now, but I always tell her, hey, you're the one that said yes. You could have said no. But no, you know what I am? I'm a soccer mom. I'm a dad, and I love it till no end.
Well, in about 2 more years when you need Blue Chew, you'll remember this ad. Trust me.
Definitely. You know what? I'll promise you'll be the first person I talk to.
So you ready to do the show?
Absolutely.
All right, guys, it's this week's Wrestling Perspective. Petey Williams is not here this week. He's taking a much-deserved vacation day. We ran it through HR. He has it. I gave it to him. Like I said at the top of the show before the theme song, we have Jason Kendall, former Major League Baseball player, played with almost everybody but the Dodgers. We covered that. Jason, you are a wrestling nerd.
I've been a wrestling nerd since I was, probably 5, 6, 7 years old. I know my old man took me and my brother to the sports arena in Los Angeles and saw Hulk Hogan slam Andre the Giant. And so I've been a wrestling nerd ever since then. And it's one of those things where I'm still nonstop WWF back then, WWE now. I need to venture out a little bit more. I definitely need to do that. But I am a total wrestling nerd, and it's one of those things that it gets me by.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I reached out to you because this is kind of a dual show, because I probably will end up putting this on the brand new feed with the show that we're going to debut June 21st. You're the first guest on, called Wrestling with Sports, and the concept is we talk to athletes about wrestling and wrestlers about sports, and we kind of merge the two worlds because there's a big crossover. And my co-host Dave Chris and I geeked out. You said it, and then that you want to be more of a part of the show. So we were like, holy cow, we've got our third guy. You are our third guy. This is awesome.
Well, first of all, Dennis, it's an honor to be the first one on this show. And when I say an honor, it's really, really cool. I'm the first time in 29 years I'm not in a Major League Baseball uniform somewhere, and I'm just taking care of the kiddos. I would love to, more than anything, help you guys out as much as possible. So I could not be more ecstatic. And whatever you need me to do, you please let me know, because I'm right there with you. And the concept is unbelievable as far as the wrestling, the baseball, because both sides it's a grind. It is a grind. I get the entertainment part in the WWE, but you know what? In Major League Baseball, it's the entertainment. That's what fans and people want to see. And I know that I can bring the baseball side of it and a little bit of wrestling knowledge.
Bring a lot of wrestling.
I also know that a little bit, not much, but a little bit. But I do know the baseball part, and I am just excited to knowing the fact that you contacted me, and whenever you need me, I'm here.
Oh, man, I got this on tape, so everybody out there listening, make sure we get this on contract, because I've need my car washed, my vacuum. Listen, before we actually get going, I have a grievance I have to air. It's Father's Day weekend as we record this. I don't know about you, but we've got this big pool in our backyard. We just bought the house. We move in. We end up opening the pool a few months, probably about a month before it should have been opened, but that was our mistake. I'm a first-time pool owner. We end up paying to have a new liner put in, and we had to end up buying a new heater. Yeah, trust me, this comes into play. And we had to buy a new heater for the pool, because I'll be honest, I've become very accustomed to having my pool at like 82 degrees now, and if it's like 77, I'm like, what am I? No, I'm not doing 70. Honesty, I should be swimming in 77 water all day long. But they come out yesterday to put the new liner in. I get a knock on it. They drain the pool. They cut the old liner out. About 20 minutes go by silence. I get the knock at the door. I open the door. It's the owner of the company, and he looks at it and he goes, I messed up. I go, what happened? Now, I'm thinking he blew out some of my equipment or something. He goes, so when you ordered the pool, I went to your neighbor's house and measured their house, thinking it was your house. So we have a liner that is too small for your pool. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, time out right there. You better get that thing for free.
Oh, yes, we are working on that. Trust me. I am upset beyond belief. I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah, that's the first time I've ever made this mistake. Both you guys are, customers. And when I just heard the road, I thought it was their house. So I went to their house. I did the whole thing. So I go, what the heck? He's like, yeah. So I look out my back, and I'll text you this picture, because we're friends, but I don't feel like we're there yet where I can just randomly text you and be like, Jason, look at my pool, or Jason, oh my gosh. But we're getting there.
You can do that anytime you want to. I don't care. But bottom line is, and this is the positive part of this whole scenario, you think it's negative, you're going to get a free pool liner. That's the positive about this whole thing, and that's the beauty about it. So, yeah, is it a pain in the butt right now? Absolutely. But
it's going to be
down the
2
road,
weeks.
Man. You get a free pool liner.
2 weeks. I have this. Have you ever seen a pool without a pool liner in it?
No.
Oh, my God.
Well, actually, I take that back. Yes, I have skateboarding back in the day when I was in California, but that was for different reasons other than swimming.
Dude, God, you're much cooler than I thought. Oh my gosh. Anyways, So now I've got this big muddy hole. It's just sad and depressing. And look, I'm a beer and bourbon guy. I like to sit out on my back porch, look at my pool, have a cigar, drink a bourbon. That was going to be my plan this weekend, Father's Day night. But it's okay, throw on a hoodie, sit back there, have my favorite cigar and a bourbon. Now, if I do it, I'm going to look at this depressing mud pit hole in my backyard that, oh boy. Oh.
Well, once again, think of the positive out of this, because you go back there and you sit and drink your beer, your bourbon, whatever it may be, and look at that dirt hole and say, you know what? this is the best Father's Day ever because this $3,000 pool liner, I'm assuming it's around there because I had to do the same thing,
5,000
is now going to be for free. And you better get that thing for free. And if you need any help with that, let me know because I actually do have a little bit of experience in that category.
Oh my gosh, how awesome would that be? Hello, hi, this is Major League Baseball's Jason Kendall. I'm calling on behalf of Dennis Farrell. Like, what? That would be awesome. That'd be funny too. That's just from here. Just from here on out, we need to prank people.
After this show, that's what you go do. You go look at your mud pit out there, and this is the positive part. If you think positive things are going to happen. If you think negative things are going to happen. Go to the positive thinking, have your bourbon on ice or on the rocks, and have the beer sitting next to the bourbon on the rocks, and enjoy the dirt hole and think, this is going to be free. You better get that thing for free.
I would love to. $5,000, that would be awesome. Now let's talk wrestling now that we're 11 minutes into the show and talk 4 seconds of wrestling. And we're going to take a different view because on Friday with Dave and I, Wrestling with Sports, we're going to talk more about how the impact of wrestling on your career and stuff like that. But here today, we're going to talk current, the now, wrestling. Right now, WWE, and you're self-admitted a WWE fan, as we all are deep inside. The product, from a lot of fans' point of view, is probably some of the worst product it's had in years. You as a fan, what do you think about the product you're watching right now on TV?
You know what? It hook, line, and sinkers me back in every time. Yes, is it kind of at that little lull right now where it's just kind of there? But you know what? I can't stop watching it. I have it on TiVo. So I'm recording it. I don't even know if TiVo's around anymore, but I have it on. And I watch it, and it brings me back in every single time. And why? I don't know. This is something that I've done since I was a kid. I've watched it since I was a kid, and it's intriguing to me. The storylines, the fact that these men and women beat themselves. And I get it. It's the entertainment, but these people beat themselves up over and over, night by night, traveling from Michigan to L.A. to St. Louis to wherever it might be. And it is a grind. And I know that because I did that for years in the big leagues. And it is a grind going from time zone to time zone. And still, they are there every night, beating themselves up. And listen, beating themselves up. You can go and Google or YouTube every, disgusting injuries or gross injuries that happened in a ring. And these people, these men and women are just annihilating their bodies. And I love it. I don't know. I've been, is it at a kind of like a little standstill right now? Absolutely. But you know what? It's done that before, and it just jumps right back up. Vince McMahon he's a genius. The guy's a genius. And I enjoy it. I will always enjoy it. I got my kids involved in it. We go at least once or twice a year here in Kansas. And it's just one of those things that is just so entertaining and so fun to watch that I won't stop.
I'm with you because I have access backstage to Impact Wrestling. I get to see all this stuff firsthand. And I'm sure that in your travels in baseball, going to shows in your position, you've been backstage at many wrestling events, right?
Absolutely. And not so much, I take that back. I've been to a few, but I always use my wrestling stuff with my buddies back home and my brother back home. And we would go out after the season was done, which was great for me because the Royal Rumble was always at that time. That's my favorite event. But I've been backstage, and it's so neat how the whole process works. It's so it's draining to watch how they have to prepare every night, day in and day out. And I'm watching these things, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! But it's one of those things that it's just so darn stinking cool that I will not stop.
I've got two buddies in the wrestling industry who are stupid big baseball fans, and when I told them that I became friendly with you, they flipped out. And one was Tommy Dreamer, who does a lot of things with MLB
Mm-hmm.
Network, House of Hardcore, ECW, WWE guy, and he's a diehard fantasy baseball. And the other guy is Matt Stryker. Do you remember Matt Stryker? He
I
was
do. I
he
do.
he was like, oh, dude, you gotta hook me up with Matt because he does fantasy baseball too, and the crossover between, and I'm starting to find this out because when I first got into the broadcast game in 2009, I did some fantasy baseball, I did fantasy football, and at some point for me, like the analytics of fantasy baseball passed me by because. And I'm sure we'll talk about this on Friday a lot more, and we definitely.
Oh yeah, you're not the only one that's passed by.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but you even said it when we were talking on the phone the other day, like launch angles and BIP and all this stuff. At some point I sat down and went, all right, you know what? I love the sport, but these kids in this analytic stuff is just going by me light years. I can't keep up. I'm gonna stop and enjoy baseball as a fan, and I'll still play some fantasy baseball leagues, but I'll enjoy it as a fan. And that's kind of how I equate it now with wrestling is as close as I am, I still love it as a fan, and there's nothing that's going to make me stop it.
I'm going to tell you what the analytics in baseball now is some of it's good, and I'll tell you just a brief 30 seconds. Is the stuff that I used analytics wise was when does a runner steal? Who's a first pitch swinger, which you, as a catcher, you should know. Because baseball players, just like anybody, they're all creatures of habits, and they're going to do certain things what they might not even know about. If you have your, I'm trying to think of a name, it's Billy Hamilton, leading baseman or whatever. Most of his, say he has 50 stolen bases, most of his stolen bases are going to be on a certain count. Well, as a catcher, you better know what count that is. Say it's a 2-1 count. And those are times where you play the game within a game, and you might pitch out. You might throw over 1 or 2 more times. You might have the pitcher hold and step off a couple times. There's little things in base. So some of it's good. Some of it, like the shifts are, to me right now, I wish they would have shifted when I played, because this is what makes me sick about this. And I know we'll get into it Friday, but if these guys in the scoreboard dictates everything, you look at the scoreboard and you're a 1-1 game, and I'll give you one little example. Joey Gallo last year, the Houston Astros were playing the Texas Rangers. It was a 1-1 game, maybe 5th or 6th inning, I can't remember, and he's leading off the inning. There is nobody on the left side of the inning. There's no third baseman. There's no shortstop. There's only a left fielder, and everybody else is on the right side of second base, and I'm talking as a hitter looking out that way, or a catcher. And what does he do? He hits into the shift. How about, as a team player, drop a bunt down? And when people say, oh, it's hard to bunt, absolutely it's hard to bunt. It's difficult to bunt. But when you are at that level, at the big league level, you should be able to put a bunt down like going to sleep at night. I mean, it is very, very easy to do. And you don't even have to, like, bunt for a hit. You can square around early and just push it over there. So, little thing, but it goes back to, where's that person in the dugout that is going like, hey, as a player, not so much a manager. Managers should do it as well. But a player should be like, oh, wait, you're not playing for a team. You're playing for yourself. But that being said, is look up at the scoreboard, and if you're hitting 210, 220, which is embarrassing to me. My last 3 or 4 careers, or the last 3 or 4 years of my career, I hit 230, and it was embarrassing. If I didn't have a 3 in front of my average, trust me, these ball players, they look up at their averages every single time. It was embarrassing for me. But that all being said is, there's some good analytics, there's some bad analytics, there's some great things from old school guys. There needs to be a mediator in between to take the two and make this game. This game's going downhill a little bit. And I really, truly believe it's because of the analytics. But if there's a mediator and you have your old school guys and your analytic guys, and you come together, this game will be right back up to where it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Interesting. Wow. See, like I said, it's passed me by. I still love the sport. Every time I go to the game, I become a 12-year-old boy. I wish it would go back to the days. And I think a lot of the problem too, and we'll get back to wrestling here in a sec, I think baseball's having a harder time creating stars like it used to have. I mean, if you look at baseball now, 10, 12, 15 guys, you could go, surely superstars. But back in our day, you had a catcher that hit 220 that was the greatest in the Hall of Fame because of how he used his glove. Now we forget about those guys and that kind of skill set in this game.
Dennis, you know what you do is you look at where all these big time stars are, however many your Bryce Harpers, your Bellingers, you look at the market they're in. That's what's on TV the most. And obviously, your Yankees, your Judges, who they'll be coming back soon, Stanton and those guys. But if you look at baseball now, the names that the kids hear about more than anything is the big market teams, because they're the media outlets. They're the ones that are on TV the most, the lead-ins to whether it be ESPN or MLB Tonight, et cetera, et cetera. But there's some pretty darn stinking good players that are on low market teams that don't get the notice that these guys do.
Do you ever geek out when you were at a show and one of the wrestlers recognized you? Because it still kind of geeks me out to this day when I go somewhere and somebody like, "Hey man, I enjoy your podcast."
No, you know what? I've always been incognito because I wanted to just enjoy it. And I was fortunate enough, and I know we'll talk about this on Friday as well, to meet Kurt Angle, because I started in Pittsburgh, and he's obviously from Pittsburgh, and he won the gold medal. I believe it was Greco wrestling. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but and I was so fortunate enough to be able to talk to him, and he tried to become a sports reporter after he got done with winning the gold medal. He's a hero. This guy's a hero. So he did the whole year with us in Pittsburgh. I think he was doing both baseball, football, maybe the Penguins too. I don't know. But once the offseason hit, 4 months later, he's WWF. I think it was WWF at the time. I can't remember.
It was.
But he's as big as they get. And so do I geek out? Absolutely. But when I go to these events, I try to stay incognito because I don't want to be. I'm with that 8 months. I was with that 8 months out of the year where there's people everywhere, and you have your friends here and there. But I just like to take my kids or my buddies and go put a hat on and just watch. So trust me, it wasn't like I was Derek Jeter or anything like that. Anyhow, but it was one of those things where I just went out and I just tried to stay incognito and watch it, and just because I love it that much. I don't want to sit there and be like, "Hey, yeah, I'm Jay, Pirates this, Pirates that," or whatever team I was playing for. I just wanted to watch wrestling and just get a kick out of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, back in your Pittsburgh days, you were kind of a big deal with that team.
Well, Pittsburgh is a different story. Pittsburgh is a diehard. It's you have three things there, and it's the Steelers, the Penguins, and then the Pirates, and that's it. Like you go to L.A. or anywhere else, hey, let's go watch the Dodgers play. Yeah, let's go watch the Dodgers play, but we can go over there and maybe we could see I don't know, John Travolta or Tom Cruise or whoever walking down the Strand at the beach. There's more thing. There's a bunch of different things to do in certain cities. In Pittsburgh, it is like people always told me, "Oh, it's so hard to play in New York and Boston." No, if you play in Pennsylvania, trust me on this, you can play anywhere you want to. Boston and New York is not even close to the Phillies, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Penguins, the Flyers, or it's not even close. If you can play in Pennsylvania, you can play anywhere. New York and Boston, not even close to Pennsylvania. And trust me, you ask any person from Pennsylvania what's more difficult to play, and it's all a mind game. You have to be mentally stronger than the rest. And trust me, everybody from Pennsylvania will be like, oh, no, it's difficult to play here. If you can play there, you can play anywhere.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. All right. Let's move back into wrestling here. You lifelong wrestling fan, the product now. Who are some of the guys you enjoy watching?
The product now, and I'll get there in a second, but like when I was growing up, this is going to sound weird to you, but your Coco Beware, Tito Santana, those guys, kind of your high flyer guys. Now, I mean, your typicals. I mean, when The Rock does come back, obviously he's not there. He's still the best in my mind. But right now, Triple H, I just love watching him come out, being older, being more wiser, coming out. Let me do the WrestleMania. I'll go kick somebody's butt. I love watching Triple H. I'm a huge DX fan. And actually, and I texted you this today, my entrance song when I was in Pittsburgh was from the Road Dogg Jesse James. Oh, you didn't know? That was my walk-up music. It's funny because somebody complained about it, and they took the ass part
right
off of it, but still used it forever. But right now, and I'm not just saying this, I'm not just being a hop on the bandwagon guy. I love watching Seth Rollins. I love watching him. There's just something about him. He's just got that arrogance. It's amazing how quick he can change from good to bad, but he's always got that arrogance, and I love that.
Did you ever notice back when you had that as your walk-up song, a bigger pop from the crowd? Because here I am. I still go, and when I hear a relief pitcher come out or a batter come up to a wrestling theme song, or if you go to a hockey arena and they play one, I get a little bit more excited because I know there's someone around here that's just as big as a wrestling fan as I am, whether it's the guy up the bat or the pianist or the DJ guy in the booth up there. Did you ever notice, like, were you kind of aware of the crowd when you came up, if they chanted along with you or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Trust me. As a hitter, I'm supposed to be so, and this is stuff you say to the media. Oh, I'm so locked in, I didn't hear it. You hear everything. So when I started doing it, people were kind of like, what is, it wasn't like, Hulk Hogan, I'm a real American. It wasn't like, the Ultimate Warrior. It wasn't those. It was kind of a DX at the time. This is in 1996. So at the time, I mean, if you knew wrestling, you might have heard the song. It wasn't like, oh, everybody knows this. So, and it got to the point where absolutely everybody in the crowd was going nuts. And you want to hear a funny story is that when I got traded to Oakland, I went to 2 other teams. I hadn't been back to Pittsburgh in forever. Got traded to the Chicago Cubs for 3 months out of the season in July, and then I played with the Brewers and the Royals after that. I went back to Pittsburgh.
Don't forget Dodgers.
Park for the first time as a pinch hitter. I wasn't playing that night, and Lou Piniella pinch hit me that night in like the 6th or 7th inning. And when I walked up to the plate, it goes, oh, you didn't know? It was, you talk about chills. You talk about goosebumps. It was awesome. And I was talking to, actually, Steve Blass, who was a pitcher, one of my good friends, won a World Series with the Pirates in '79. He goes, nobody has ever received their walk-up song when they come back in a different uniform than you. So I thought that was really cool. And it was something that, in all honesty, I look back on it, it was awesome. And the way people took to it, and there was a huge fight out of it because it did say the word ass in there. And they deleted the word ass, but I still went with it, and I went with it my whole career in Pittsburgh.
If you would have switched, let's say they came to you and said, hey, we're just not using this song, you got to pick another one, what would it have been after that?
It wouldn't have been anything. It would have been nothing. because that was my Pittsburgh song. Now, when I went on to other, when I went on, and the last one that I remember, to be honest with you, was Mudvayne Dig, and it's just some guy yelling, and he goes, and he just yells for like, honestly, you can't even hear any other thing than this guy. And when I was in Milwaukee, everybody who was at the games, they would yell just like Mudvayne Dig. You have to Google that or
all right,
check that out later.
That's because I always find it interesting, the crossover in sports between athletes and wrestling and with athletes. I almost feel like it's like comedians and musicians. If you're a comedian, you want to be a musician. If you're a musician, you want to be a comedian. And it's almost like that with sports. If you're a athlete, you kind of want to be a wrestler or take aspects of wrestling, put it into your ball game. And if you're a wrestler, you always want to be an athlete.
Oh, 100%. I still, to this day, wish I could go and hop into a ring with WWE Universe, and it would be, you talk about a rush. It would be a complete rush. But you're 1,000% right on that. And I ran into, well, not just with my time with the Cubs, but Pearl Jam, huge baseball fan, the whole group. And that's all he wanted to do. He wanted to just be a baseball player. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, I just want to be a rock star or a wrestler. But you're so 100% right on that. And I think because you are in the spotlight a little bit, and you do get to meet certain people in certain areas of whatever, their careers might be. And you take that interest over, just kind of like the wrestling thing, and you just want to go and do that. I don't want to play baseball, even though I'm very, very lucky to go and put on a big league uniform and get it dirty. And I want to go put on some frickin' Speedos and drop an elbow on someone's head and do stuff that The Rock or Triple H or Ricky the Dragon Steamboat or Shawn Michaels used to do. So, but you are so right on that, because it is without a doubt the honest God truth that whatever profession you're in, you always want to think, and maybe it's just dreaming. I don't know, Dennis. Maybe it's just the dreaming part of it, and you just want to go and do something that you haven't done before.
I kind of agree with you. I want to say it was last year. I was fortunate enough to go to, like I said, a show with Petey, and he let me in the ring. I got to stand in the middle of an Impact ring. I took pictures, of course. As nerdy as I am, I have these fantasy football championships that are like, championship belts. I wore mine in the ring like I'm some sort of, there's the giggle. Yeah, I know the certain level.
No, I love it.
But there's a certain level of nerdiness, like next level, wearing a fake football championship in a wrestling ring. So, and I've got pictures of me standing up there, and I get up on the second rope, and I'm getting dizzy because it's like even the second rope is so high. Oh.
I love it. That's the stuff that I wanted to do.
Yeah, hey, I know the guys. Come to an Impact show.
You know what? I need to venture out of WWE a little bit, and I am on it. You give me a time, a date, and I'm there. And I need to venture out, and it's my fault that I never have. But it's just something that I've done since I was a little knucklehead, and something that I still do today, but I do need to venture out. So this is another reason where we're going to work good together, I think.
This is super cool. What would it take? Because I am kind of like you. Before I got mixed up with Pete, I was strictly WWE, and I kind of talk about it on the show a lot about how it was just the biggest product. I just missed the indie scenes when I was growing up. I hear these kids talking about tape trading communities, and I missed out on all that. I was actually a WCW guy growing up. I wasn't always a WWE guy. I went out of business, and you have to go somewhere after that. And I don't think the cable network I had ECW, so I missed out on ECW even there. So for you, what does it take? How does a promotion or someplace kind of interest you in coming over? Because, look, you've got a gaggle of kids. You're married. You have responsibilities. WWE takes up 2 nights a week on its own, which it's almost like a commitment. How do you now, I guess in your mind, juggle, all right, I'm going to try something else. Where do I go? How do I do it?
But once again, I have the coolest, the hottest wife ever. So if she says, I mean, there's zero, it's one of those things where like, hey, I'm going to go to Michigan and we're going to watch some Impact stuff. She'll be like, oh my gosh, please take me. Can I go? We'll call grandma to watch the kids. It's a vacation for us. But I have the coolest. You let me know where to be in all honesty. If there's not a Little League game, soccer game, and I got 2 boys that are wrestling, I'll be there without a doubt. And just like any parents out there, you juggle, you do what you can do to make sure your kids are where they need to be on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody enjoys watching their kids. It is a rush watching your kids. But at the same time, and I'm talking about playing sports, at the same time, you need to get away and do little things for yourself. And I'm there. I'll be there in 2 seconds.
I know there's one coming up in July, a taping and for Impact, and there's other tapings around. I think there's some in New York too. I'm gonna send you a schedule, and I'll talk to Scott Demore if he's not mad at me. Scott, I still love you, buddy. But absolutely, because Impact for and I'm not just saying this because Pete works there and I've gone to a bunch of shows. I enjoy going to those shows more than going to Ring of Honor, going to even WWE shows, because it is such a great community.
That's interesting.
It is. If you go to a Impact show, and here's the difference, where and I get the 2 different cultures, but if you go to an Impact show, wrestlers are hanging out, talking to the crowd, signing autographs, taking pictures with fans. You don't get that at a WWE show.
No. Not at all. That is really cool to me, and that's really intriguing to me. And it's my own fault. Like I said, I need to venture out, but I dig that, because what do fans want? If you really, really think about it, because everybody, whether you're a football, baseball, wrestling, doctor, they just want to be like, hey, how you doing? And see that like you're just as cool as I am. For the most part, that's how people are. But as an athlete, wrestler, football player, whatever it may be, I want people to know that I was fortunate enough to be in a spot to where, the Pittsburgh Pirates drafted me, or WWE or Impact or the NFL, whatever it may be, had somebody look at me. But just because I'm doing something that you all, and they want to know that you're just as down to earth as they are. They really, really, truly do want that. And I get a kick out of that. So I would love to go to something like that. And it'll probably change my mind, because when you see what they do, you see how they just beat the crap out of their bodies. It's entertainment. But at the same time, it's the work ethic. Work ethic is a huge, it's always been a huge part of what I did. And in order to be in a situation like this, you have to have that work ethic that does not stop.
The other guy who will be doing stuff with us is Dimitri Young, who is a stupid big wrestling fan. Like, you name a wrestler, and he'll be like, I went to see him in 1992 before he was this guy. It's like, what the heck? He was telling a story, and I went back and watched it, and I want to say it was either SummerSlam or Survivor Series 94, where it was in Detroit. And he was technically the very first guest on when Edge had his interview show. What was it? The Cutting Edge? And,
Yep.
and he was the very first guest on it. And Edge had the greatest line on, and this is, even Dimitri will admit, this was kind of big Dimitri years, not skinny Dimitri. Edge goes, I can tell you don't have a problem with steroids, only cupcakes.
Christian and Edge were awesome. I'll tell you what, those two, when they were attacked, it was unbelievable.
He's like, dude, that was the greatest. He said that it took everything he had not to laugh because he was supposed to be mad during that segment, and it took everything he had not to laugh.
See, I never got called up like that. I never got to do stuff like that. It even got to the point to where, because I was so locked into what I was doing for that game, for that day, so certain guys would throw out a pitch, or if it wasn't 2 or 3 hours before a game, and this was before I met Kurt Angle, actually maybe a little bit after, but I wouldn't do, there'd be guest people doing, throwing out this or that, throwing out this pitch or whatever, and I was always so locked into what I was doing that I could care less. I didn't want a part of that. I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for what I had to do that day to help my team win, from calling a game to et cetera, et cetera. But, God, I wish I would have gotten a chance to do something like that. But as far as Dimitri Young, me and Dimitri kind of came up together. When I say came up together is obviously we weren't on the same team, but we came up the minor league system together and kind of broke in similar years. I mean, I was 96. I'm sure he was right before or after that. But it was one of those things where I played against him so much. You talk about a baseball person, knowledgeable, played the game the right way. Just, you talk about a person that you're very, very fortunate to have on this show. It's Dimitri.
I think it's you both, honestly, because what we're trying to do as we wrap the show up, we're already almost at 45 minutes here, is have a cool culture. See, here on the wrestling perspective, me and Pete, it's all just wrestling, and I love it. I love sports talk and did wrestling after my time with ESPN, and decided that, when Dave, Chris, and I talked about doing a sports show, I kind of drug my feet like, I don't know if I want to go back into that world. And then we came up with this concept of, let's just get all the athletes, wrestlers, and actors and musicians we know and talk about both with them and mix them together. And that's kind of how it got born. And then I reached out to you, and you were all in. And I tell you, I geeked out like a little kid because my best friend growing up, John Ames, is a diehard Pittsburgh guy. So I grew up watching you. Not that I'm that much younger than you.
I think what you guys are doing, and if I'm fortunate enough to be a part of it, like I said, just you let me know. I think what you guys, it's something different. It's something that more people than you will imagine share the same thoughts. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you will get a group of people in this world, United States, whatever, that are right on the same page. So I think what you have is a gold mine, and that's why when you texted me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in. This is something that is so cool and is just going to blow up and just be unbelievable. And I really, really, truly, Dennis, and I'm a pretty blunt person. You can ask anybody that knows me. I would not just say that to say that. If I thought the idea stunk, I'd be like, this is not good. So I wouldn't put myself in. So what you are doing and venturing out of what you had from being on ESPN, et cetera, is it takes a lot of guts, number one. But number two, it takes a lot of mind, your mental work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it successful. Your mind is such a powerful thing. So thank you for, number one, let me be the first host. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. But just being a part of it and talking to you, and can't wait to watch this thing blow up.
You definitely will be part of it. As this week goes on, we'll be releasing more links to it. We're still getting everything set up, so go look for Wrestling with Sports. You can go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com, and that link will be there as we get on iTunes and Stitcher and everything else. I got to tell you, this has been a fun, awesome conversation to sit down and just talk with no roadmap, no direction, and that's kind of, what you guys will be able to kind of look forward to is a mixture of wrestling and sports, Wrestling with Sports. So, Jason, this has been, hopefully I haven't scared you off in this last 45 minutes.
Not one bit. And when you say that there's a zero script, of zero anything, honest to God truth, because it was just let's go, wing it. And you're that professional to where you actually helped me out. And I can't wait to be more of a part of this. And like I said, can't wait to watch this thing take off.
Well, debut episode, June 21st, Wrestling with Sports. Jason Kendall's our first guest. Here's who we already have booked. You're the first guest, and probably the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. You're going to be there. Hopefully, we'll get you on about once a week, even if it's just you and I chatting away. But we've got, in no order, George Kittle from the 49ers, the number 2 tight end in fantasy football right now. He's coming on. Dimitri Young, as we said, Randall Cunningham, the bassist from a band called Yellow Card, which kind of was before my time, but a lot of people seem to know. The bassist from Rancid, just the guys from Super Trooper and Beer Fest. I know 2 out of 4 of those guys. You know who they are, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to tell you, if I could stop you real quick and give you a brief. You said Randall Cunningham. I have to be on that show. I was a quarterback in high school, and I did all right. I was pretty good. I had a little action figure, one of those like starting lineup of Randall Cunningham. It stuck in my car. Randall Cunningham was my favorite quarterback ever. I had the same face mask when I played. Love it. So just do me that favor, please. Let me be on with Randall Cunningham because that little guy went everywhere with me when I was in high school. Absolutely.
I make dreams come true on this show. I don't know if you knew that.
You know what? Well, it hasn't started yet, but I think they do too.
Oh. So here we are, guys. Feel free. It was a different wrestling perspective this week, but enjoy it. WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. Jason, you're on Twitter. Where can people follow you?
Just Jason Kendall 18, I believe it is.
I think there's like
Twitter, that's it.
B or an R, right? Jason B.
That's a great question.
Jason R. What's your middle name?
That's how computer savvy I am, but it's Jason Kendall 18. I have to look it up. That's Twitter.
I see. I thought your middle initial was there. I swear, because there's a Jason Kendall 18, and it's all a bunch of Japanese, I think.
Well, there is I'm trying to look it up right now. Hang on.
I can do the same for you. This makes for good radio. This is real life right here.
It's just Jason Kendall 18.
Are you sure? Because
I have a Kansas City Royals hat on. There's a couple of Jason Kendalls, and you know what's even funnier is there's a Jason Kendall in Pittsburgh who I believe is a musician, and so I still get fan mail from from just people trying to. I don't know how it gets to the house. I have no idea, but I get a lot of it from this musician Jason Kendall from Pittsburgh. Isn't that nuts?
That's awesome. Do you sign it?
No, I don't sign it because they're the frickin' baseball card people who want to go sell it and make sure that that's your address. And now, if it's sent to a stadium somewhere, yeah, absolutely, I sign it. But if it's sent to the home, no, I don't sign it. I'll let you guys know right now because it's probably not legit. And if it is legit, how am I supposed to know about it?
I've never sent anything to anybody else. And maybe one time, and you'll find out, I'm a bit of a sports nomad. I promise we'll wrap this up. I was born in Boston, lived there until 7, so I kind of assimilate at least baseball and football with New England, Boston. Then I lived in Atlanta during my early middle school, high school years, moved to St. Louis where, I lived there until I got transferred from St. Louis to Michigan. So I think one time when I was in Atlanta, I sent a letter to Lonnie Smith because at one point he was my favorite Brave. Yeah, Lonnie Smith. Out of all the Braves that they've had, I love Lonnie.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm with it.
So I never got anything back, but the first home run I've ever seen at a ballpark was Lonnie Smith. I went to the Braves, and it might have been the year before. Was it 92 or 94 when they went on that big spinning spree and they picked up Rafael Belliard, Lemke?
I want to say it's 93 or 4, probably 94.
Yeah, but right before they went on, Terry Pendleton was in that big spinning spree.
Yep.
And I remember Lonnie Smith right before that was the first home run I ever saw at a ball game, and I was like, oh, I love Lonnie. This guy's going to be the greatest Smith.
That's awesome. That is good stuff.
So that's the kind of stuff you'll get on Wrestling with Sports. But Jason, you've got a wife to pick up. I've got a Father's Day cigar and bourbon to drink by a mud pit of a pool, which will be free
in
now.
your mud pit that you're going to get for free.
For free. That's right. We started it. We ended with it. Wrestling perspective. We'll see. Yeah.
Dennis, happy Father's Day.
You too, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
There we go.